let me bring you to the fifth workout for me of the weekend, which was the first workout for intermediate. So it's Sunday, it's 9 a.m. I've already been on the physio bed. So I woke up early doors. I was first into breakfast at the hotel. I went down to Turf Games. I went straight to the physio beds. They were just setting up for the day. Obviously, they didn't expect anyone until after the first workout. But there I was. So I laid on the bed and I said, mate, just freaking do something with my quads, all right? Because Turf Games, done. We did it. Last weekend, we went to Turf Games, a functional fitness competition, a hybrid functional fitness competition that's run over 2 days for 3 different levels: everyday, intermediate, and advanced, or elite, as they call it. I did the everyday competition on the Saturday, and then I did the intermediate competition on the Sunday. They're team events, they're team competitions, so it's a mixed team of 6, 3 males, 3 females, and designed to be done just once, just one day. 4 workouts over the course of a day. First one's beginning around about 9 o'clock and then finishing for 5 o'clock the same day. The way in which it worked out, I ended up doing 2. So I did the everyday on the Saturday, intermediate on the Sunday. The workouts this year were incredibly similar, pretty much the same. So for each level, everyday, intermediate, and elite, the workouts were published a couple of weeks beforehand, and essentially they were very much the same structure, but maybe the differences were maybe the weights that you had to lift, or the distance maybe that you had to achieve at certain parts of the workout. And there were even some exercises that were different. So maybe they were scaled down for the everyday competition and then scaled up for the intermediate and elites. Yeah, so let's get down to it. How did it go? So it was 8 workouts that I had to do over the weekend. Essentially 4 workouts on the Saturday and then rinse, repeat on the Sunday. Do the same 4 again with just slightly more intensity, maybe more volume. Great. So as it so happened, completely by chance, both of my teams, everyday and intermediate, had the same order of workouts. So you're given as a team before Turf Games the times and the order of the workouts you'll do. And yeah, by complete chance, both my teams had the same order and pretty much the same timings as well. So roughly around about a 9 o'clock start, and then we ran through till about 4 o'clock that day. So you've got about 2 hours in between each workout. The first workout that we did on both days was the worm, which I really think is the toughest. I think for so many different reasons, but I really think it's the hardest workout. We had the worm first, then we had the rig. The third one was the lift, and then the fourth one on both days was called full send, which is essentially full gas, which is just aero cardio kit. Carrying and running, just all out for distance in 15 minutes. So all the workouts are 15 minutes long, and you just give it everything you can. How did it go? So in terms of debrief, my teams were just brilliant. Both teams, every day and intermediate, it was an absolute privilege to throw down with those groups of people. They're just brilliant people. And yeah, I mean, we had such a laugh. There were the highs and lows. I think all of us, probably at times, it was going to be inevitable. There's going to be some workouts that just didn't maybe click for us. Other workouts where it all came together. Overall, so top level, like, how did it go for both teams? Well, both of my teams, like, I think we worked and we started really well. We both ended up finishing in the bottom third overall for our respective categories, everyday and intermediate. You know, which I think is a bit of an unfair reflection, really, of like how we did and what we put in and things. But it's just the way it goes, just the nature of these things. So there were approximately 300 teams in everyday and another 300 teams in intermediate. And so both the teams that I were in, you know, were sort of below the 200 mark overall. However, as I say, this doesn't really paint the true picture of how the weekend went and how the teams did. Because, funnily enough, I think for both teams, we did the best in the worm, which, as I say, in my opinion, was the most difficult workout. And so for the everyday team, we were the top third. So I think we came like 100th out of like 300 teams. And for intermediate team, I think we actually came 53rd in that worm workout. You know, out of, again, 330 teams. So, you know, to come 53rd, you know, and to come 100, like, in the worm, I think that's testament to the team. It was rough and tough. And, so let me bring you to the fifth workout for me of the weekend, which was the first workout for intermediate. So it's Sunday, it's 9 a.m. I've already been on the physio bed. So I woke up early doors. I was first into breakfast at the hotel. I went down to Turf Games. I went straight to the physio beds. They were just setting up for the day. Obviously, they didn't expect anyone until after the first workout. But there I was. So I laid on the bed and I said, mate, just freaking do something with my quads, all right? Because they were in absolute bits. I really thought it'd be my shoulders. I thought it was a very shoulder dominant kind of workout this year. But my legs, yeah, after Saturday were in bits. So I was already in the pain cave come 9 o'clock on Sunday because I'd had 15 minutes of a massage that, although it was not particularly a deep massage, it absolutely, yeah, it hurt a lot. So I'd pretty much been gritting my teeth for like 15 minutes. And then, yeah, so we warmed up for the worm. Like, I think all the intermediate team, like, and, you know, fair play, like, they were a bit concerned about what I'd have left in the tank. I was a bit concerned about what I'd have left in the tank, but there was no time to think about that. So, yeah, we're straight into the worm, 9 o'clock, buzzer went, had it on our shoulders. Credit to the team, because we put it in. We'd met up a couple of times, as I've said in the previous episodes, like we'd kind of gone through the worm, and it paid off. It really paid off. Like, yeah, we were fucking brilliant. We were superb, and there was essentially like 3 stages of the worm. There was the first part, which was the shoulder to overhead or clean and press with the worm. Then the second part was squats with the worm, and the third part were thrusters. So putting it all together, sort of squat and a shoulder to overhead. And yeah, needless to say, I mean, come on, we were all giving it everything we had. And yeah, okay, like it got a bit sticky in that third part of the workout. It was always going to. It just got sticky for us all. You know, everyone's getting tired. Like everything seems noisier. I think that's the thing. The volume around you ramps up. You know, the crowd are getting excited. Like other teams are probably flapping, and you know, it's more difficult to hear the calls. Everyone's like blowing. So you know, like anyway, yeah. As you can see, like I had a cry on the worm during that third section. So yeah, this is me like just yeah, might as well be bawling my eyes out at this point because I was in the hurt locker. I was in the pain cave. I was absolutely maxing out. That was as hard as I've ever gone. You know, I'd probably put it right up there with, you know, being in a boxing ring for the third final round. Like I was absolutely in that place. But also secretly fucking loving it as well. And yeah, it was amazing. We had like brilliant like cheering and kind of like a crowd with us. So right in front of us was the coach and, you know, a couple of kind of friends and family and things of our team members. And I think I just looked at them and I just thought, yeah, I'm having this. Both days I also heard I heard my teammates incorrectly. So I misheard them. So on both days, I ended up at the front, which is regarded as the hardest part of the worm, for the thrusters, the hardest part of the workout, right towards the end. And on the Saturday, Paz had said to me, like, Jay, like, switch out. Or at least that's what I thought he'd said. But apparently he didn't at all. so I got him on the worm just as we were finishing off our 10 reps, and then I was left to do the burpees. So I'd gone basically straight out of thrusters into burpees. And then the same thing happened on the Sunday. So it was never part of the plan, and it was totally my fault. I you know, again, like a completely misheard. I think someone was telling me, once we'd done the thrusters, someone was saying to me, like, Jay, don't drop the thing. Like, you've got to hold it. I think Nathan was just trying to help me out because at this point I could barely see, you know what I mean? I couldn't hear anything. Like I was in a bad place. And I just looked at him and I basically passed him the worm and then looked around and someone said to me, Jay, you're going to have to do the burpees. Oh my good God. I could barely move. I felt so sorry for the other two because it took me like the first 2 or 3 to sort of catch them up and then kind of, I don't know, my mind to sort of click in and be like, Jay, you're still alive. It's all right. You have not died. Like, you've got to get this in, mate. You know, because the buzzer was about to go. We had 30 seconds on the clock. You've got to get it in. So I was like, right, let's have it. So, yeah, I think this is me on like kind of the home straight after having a bit of a pep talk with myself. But yeah, fifth workout of the weekend, first workout intermediate on a Sunday. I was in the hurt locker. And I came out of that, and I mean, credit to the team. I think we just did ourselves proud. It was superb. It was brilliant. And you know what? On any other given day, maybe we hadn't have been, you know, maybe that like just those sticky little bits that, you know, on any other day just wouldn't have happened. You know, it's one of those things like, I think, we were 53rd. I think we could have been even higher. I'm sure if you looked at the numbers, we would have been pretty close. And I reckon if you took the workout as segments and looked at the numbers that we kind of scored in the first 2, the clean and jerk and a squat, I'm pretty sure we would have been right up there at the top. So yeah, I think we've got to take a lot of pride from that. Second exercise of both days was the rig. So I don't know, I enjoyed the rig more last year, Turf Games 24, winter. This year, like, it was a bit hit and miss, like, it was a bit imbalanced. You only had the one erg, which was, it seemed to be like that all teams were pretty much scoring the same on the erg in terms of distance. So looking like either side of us, like we were pretty much neck and neck. I looked at some of the scores on the judges' score sheet, you know, from prior, very, very close. So it wasn't really the erg that was kind of going to differentiate teams that much. But I think on the rig itself, it was a bit hit and miss. The burpee pull-ups didn't really work because they weren't hard enough. Like the bar was so low that everyone could jump into them. I think it was a 6.5 foot bar. So a lot of fellas that I saw, as long as they jumped, and got the chin over, like they were good. And we could have done with that being harder. Do you know what I mean? In a weird way, I think it was an injustice, like, for our two teams, because we had some really fit, strong people on our teams, and people who probably put in a lot of graft and got their pull-ups in the bag, and then on the day it kind of lended itself towards those people who, quite frankly, probably didn't have the pull-ups in the bag. Also, the wall balls were just. They were a nothing exercise. They were far too easy, especially intermediate. You had a lower target and you had a 6 kilo wall ball. What were we doing for 12 or something? It was a nothing exercise. Snatches were solid, yeah. The dumbbell snatches were all good, but I just think, I think. The rig was a tough one. I'm sure that you could have ended up like hundreds of places down the score table, for a matter of 100 meters. I really think that all the teams were scoring that equally, that similarly on the ergs. That in reality, I think you needed a bit of a differentiator. I think you needed something that was going to make it, particularly hard. And as I say, like, by us coming out with, say, 2,800 meters on the erg, and another team coming out with 2,900 meters on the erg, like, yeah. So again, that's just the way it works. That's the way it works. That's where it went. The lift. So number 3, the lift, brilliant, absolutely superb. Loved it both days. I think for every day, it was great to have something overhead. I think it gives the everyday a lot of respect and a lot of time. And I think it gives them a clean as well. That's, it gives them part of an Olympic lift, which they deserve at every day. I think it would have been so much easier for the comp directors to sort of think, oh, come on, we'll just stick with deadlifts. Like, we'll just stick with something safe, something sound, something where they can get, higher numbers, instead of something that actually had to be quite technical, because otherwise your clean was going to be the limiting factor. If you weren't able to clean efficiently, then you were stuck. So I really liked that, and kudos to the comp directors there, I think. On the Sunday, the complex was brilliant. Again, as I said in my previous video, I had thought that the elites had the toughest, very difficult complex. And what I mean by that is, I think it was tough on them because they had front squats first, and then they had shoulder to overhead last. And I think that's difficult to manage, and it's really tough to manage because essentially you could fly through the clean, you could fly through the front squats, and then fail on the shoulder to overhead. And of course, yes, that's all part of the game, and that's why they've programmed it as such. I get that. But for the intermediate, I think we were fortunate because we had the clean straight into shoulder to overhead, then we finished on the front squat. If you could do the shoulder to overhead, if you got the 2 in the bag, then you knew that you were safe. You were home and dry. It was like a relief, because you could just bang out your couple of front squats and then that was it. You're done. So, but no, we're all good. I think everyone was strong on a day. Like, kudos to those people who go hard or go home. I love the lift competition. I think it's just brilliant, and for those who've never done it before, you could see it in them. Like, it just brings them. It brings them to life. And if you fail, you fail, but at least you fail trying. Like, giving it what you've got, and that's the day to find out. I hit a 75 on the Saturday. I hit an 85 kilo on the Sunday. I had a little cry before the Sunday lift. So I, after that worm on the Sunday morning, somehow I got myself back together. I just went and laid on the floor in a cold, dark, quiet, dark room, somewhere in the conference centre, and somehow got my legs back, which was great. And then by the time the lift came, I think my body, my mind, my emotions, the sugar and caffeine, everything was just kind of racing, and I was peaking too high too early, and I had to take myself off for a little walk by the Portaloos, right in the far end, cold corner of this huge conference centre. Took myself there with a little espresso, did some breathing techniques to try and bring myself back down a little bit, had a bit of a cry, which made me feel better, got it out my system, and then went and executed it. And credit to those around me as well. I had the coach straight in front of me. She just said 85, go up. I could have called it at 80. Do you know what I mean? I could have put 80 on the bar, and but I'd done 80 in the gym, so what's that going to prove? So I did 85, and quite frankly, I can go higher, which is brilliant. It's a great feeling. So just an all-round amazing thing that I honestly believe anyone able should do. You should experience that at some point. You should have people around you, eyes on you, cameras on you, under the spotlight, and just see what you've got. Just lift that bar. So, awesome. And then both days we ended on full send, which is essentially full gas. So all in cardio, rowers, a bike, a kettlebell carry, and a run. I think again, similar to the rig, the standard of teams was really high. Like every day and intermediate, I was blown away. I think the standard of teams is really good. And I think that with the rig and the full send, the exercises, you don't necessarily need to think too much. I think a lot of people there, a lot of athletes will do this stuff day in, day out at their gyms. They know what they're doing. They don't have to think about it. They just go. And that means that a lot of the teams are very similar in output. There aren't many teams that are, head and shoulders above the others. The teams in every day on the Saturday were kind of cranking out like 12,000 metre mark for the 15 minutes as an accumulative score between the two rowers and the bike. And Sunday, like, all bets were off. Essentially it felt like a buy-in. The first 3 parts of that workout, the first 3 runs, everyone was like neck and neck. Every single team was neck and neck, and it was all about the last 3 minutes. Who could bury themselves after that, and it's just pure graft in the hurt locker. And I'm proud of myself. Like, I'm proud of myself for just getting to that point. Like, I fell off the rower at the end, but finished it strong. And kudos and credit to my teams, because they gave it everything. There were people there I know in my teams who buried themselves on that last workout. But it was a great workout to have last, because mentally we didn't really need to think. You didn't need to synchronize with your partner. You didn't particularly need to count anything. You just went. And that's exactly what we needed. It was certainly what I needed, because I was blowing. So I had very little to offer. At 4 o'clock on Sunday. But everything I did have, I left there on the floor. I had nothing left to give. So very proud of both teams. It was an absolute privilege. Turf Games, Winter 25, every day and intermediate, done. And it was brilliant. I would highly recommend it to anyone and everyone who is able to do it. It was a joy, it was a pleasure, it was a privilege. I'm very proud. And let's go again. On to the next.